My name is Jane. I remember that fateful morning vividly. I was standing in the kitchen of the house I'd painstakingly built, wearing the silk robe that my now, soon-to-be ex-husband, Tom, had brought back from a business trip to Paris 5 years ago. It was a beautiful robe, cream-colored with delicate silver embroidery, but at that moment, it felt like a mockery. Tom sat across from me at the kitchen island, the one we'd picked out together at a high-end showroom in Manhattan. He folded his hands on the smooth marble surface, a gesture I'd seen 100 times before important conversations. With a straight face, he looked me in the eye and said, "Jane, I've found my true love." I stared at him, and a strange sense of calm washed over me. It was as if I'd been waiting for this moment, even though I'd never consciously admitted it. I smiled at him, a real smile, because I knew I was ready. I excused myself, walked to my home office, and closed the door. I called my assistant, Lily. "Lily," I said, my voice steady, "block all of Tom's corporate cards right away. And stop the automatic payment on his mother's health insurance. Also, get me the number for my divorce attorney, Mr. Harris." As I waited for Lily to do her job, I let my mind drift back to the beginning. I grew up in a small town in Vermont. My parents were simple folks. My dad was a schoolteacher, and my mom ran a small flower shop. They were hard-working and honest, but money was always tight. I remember the long evenings at the dinner table, where my parents would worry about bills and the future. At 18, I decided I was going to change our family's fortune. I got a full-ride scholarship to Harvard Business School. After graduation, I landed a job at a top-tier marketing firm in New York City. I worked long hours, sacrificed my social life, and within 5 years, I was one of the top account managers in the company. Then, I met Tom. It was at a business networking event. He was 35, working as a regional sales manager for a tech startup. He was charming, with a sharp jawline and deep blue eyes. He complimented me on my business achievements, not my looks, and I was immediately smitten. We dated for 2 years before getting married. The wedding was a grand affair in a beautiful vineyard in Napa Valley. I paid for most of it because Tom's mother, Mrs. Thompson, had very specific ideas about how the wedding should be, and my parents couldn't afford much. Mrs. Thompson was a difficult woman, always having an opinion on everything and never hesitating to voice it. But I loved Tom, so I went along with it. After the wedding, we bought a beautiful house in the Hamptons. The mortgage was high, but my good credit score and high income made it possible. Tom's credit wasn't great, due to some past debts, but I didn't think it was a big deal. My business, Jane and Company, which I'd started with just a few clients and a rented office, was growing steadily. By the time we'd been married for 5 years, it was worth over $3.5 million. I was proud of what I'd built, but I also made sure to make time for our relationship. We had a routine, coffee together in the mornings, dinners at home most nights, and occasional weekend getaways. But then, things started to change. Around the 3rd year of our marriage, Tom's career hit a plateau. He was passed over for a promotion, and he became more withdrawn. He started going to the gym more often, bought new clothes, and was always on his phone. I told myself it was just stress, that he was going through a rough patch. In the fall of last year, I noticed an AirTag notification on my phone. I'd put the AirTag in Tom's car a few years ago because he always forgot where he parked. I noticed that he was going to a new place, a yoga studio in Soho, 3 times a week. He'd come home late and would shower immediately, something he'd never done before. I started to keep a record of his comings and goings. I'm good with data, and I knew I needed to look for patterns. By the end of February, I had enough evidence to suspect that he was having an affair. I made an appointment with Mr. Harris, my divorce attorney. I told Mr. Harris what I knew. He asked if we had a prenuptial agreement. We'd talked about it before the wedding, but Tom was hurt by the suggestion. His mother called me and said that if I really trusted Tom, I wouldn't need a prenup. I was in love, so I dropped the idea. Mr. Harris told me that in New York, while it's a no-fault state, documentation of an affair could still affect asset division. He asked me to walk him through my financials. After our meeting, I left his office with a sense of clarity. A few weeks later, I accidentally found out more about Tom's affair. I'd gone to visit my friend, Sarah, but her son was sick, so I came home early. I heard Tom on the phone in the living room, laughing in a way I hadn't heard in a long time. He was talking to someone named Lisa, saying how much he couldn't wait to see her the next weekend. I was devastated, but I didn't cry. I sat in my car for a while and then drove to a coffee shop. There, I started planning my next steps. I got the credit card statements and found out that Tom had been spending a lot of money on Lisa. Over the past 6 months, he'd charged over $5,000 on our joint credit card for dinners, hotels, and gifts. I also hired a forensic accountant, Mr. Davis, to look into our business expenses. He found that Tom had been misusing a supplementary business card I'd given him for work. In the past 18 months, he'd charged over $28,000 on it for personal expenses, including a jewelry purchase and a weekend trip to the Bahamas. One Thursday night, just 2 days before Tom told me about his true love, Mrs. Thompson called me. Her voice was different, raw and full of shame. She told me that she'd known about Lisa since December. Tom had told her that he was in love with someone else and was planning to divorce me. He'd asked her to keep it a secret. But what made her tell me was that Tom had asked her to move in with him and Lisa after the divorce. She realized that she'd been sitting in my house, enjoying my hospitality, while her son was planning to leave me. She was ashamed and couldn't keep the secret anymore. I thanked her for telling me and immediately called Mr. Harris. He told me to come in the next morning with all the documentation. We were going to file for divorce on Monday. Back in the present, I walked back to the kitchen. Tom was still sitting there, looking confused. I set my coffee cup down and said, "Tom, I've been meeting with Mr. Harris since February. I have documentation of over $33,000 in personal charges you made on our joint account and the business card. I have evidence of your affair, and I know about the money you've been putting aside in a personal account. Mr. Harris is filing for divorce on Monday. The locks on this house will be changed today, and your corporate cards are already blocked." The color drained from his face. He opened and closed his mouth several times, but no words came out. I picked up my coffee and said, "You should call a lawyer." He left the house that afternoon with 2 suitcases. I watched as the locksmith changed the locks, and I felt a strange sense of relief. The house was mine again, and I was ready to move on. The divorce took 9 months. Mr. Harris was thorough and methodical. The evidence of Tom's financial misconduct and affair changed the course of the negotiation. Tom didn't get what he expected. He got a small fraction of the equity in the house, his personal property, and his car, which was still under lease. He got nothing from Jane and Company. I sold the house in the Hamptons last month and bought a smaller, cozier place in Brooklyn. I've also lost 20 pounds since the divorce. I started taking a natural supplement recommended by a friend. It's helped me control my appetite and feel better about myself. My business is doing better than ever. I've promoted Lily to operations director, and she's doing an amazing job. I'm not afraid of the future. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought, and I'm ready to face whatever comes my way. Tom called me once, a few months after the divorce was finalized. I let it go to voicemail and deleted it without listening. Some doors are better left closed. I'm focused on building a new life for myself, one that's filled with happiness and success.